Orgasm. We all love to hit that climax. But what actually happens when we do orgasm? It's defined as a rush of sexual excitement, climax, or peak of sexual pleasure, which occurs during sexual activity. Now, and that makes perfect sense, and it's really true, but is it really? What does that actually mean? Well, we all know that our society has created a space where orgasm is supposed to look like fireworks, and the roof is supposed to raise and the sun is supposed to shine on a rainy day. And while we all do, and hopefully do, have those experiences, that's not quite always what it is it? It can be very different for every woman. And it's really about letting go of some sexual tension. I'm going to switch it up and I'm going to say something that may be a little bit different. Orgasm is not a genital response. It's not. For our men folk, their response is really tied to a release program, a release activity. I said program, but I mean a release. So for them, it actually does have a physiobiological effect. And because we have existed in this patriarchal system, the way that science has approached our sexuality has been from a very patriarchal or male-focused perception. I knew that word had to come up somewhere. The idea of the patriarchal way. Women, it's not necessarily like that. And in fact, women, orgasm is a sexual release of tension. That's it. And that's not a little it. We get at our orgasm in a little bit of a different way. If it's not tied for us to a biological response, meaning that there have been studies that are proving that it's not tied to our ability to be fertile, it's not tied to our ability to have children, it's not tied to anything that makes it necessary for us to be able to have sex at all. It's just like this beautiful additive that we have been given. That standard belief that we have that, the blood rushes into the areas of our body, it fills up our clitoris, it fills up our vaginal walls, and then we have the explosion, and that there is a physicality is truthful. There is that physical response. But if you can think about a time when you've come to a climax, and when you've even had the response, the shuddering of your body, that release of sexual tension, have you ever noticed that sometimes your orgasm may feel just flat? That's the beauty about our womanhood. Orgasm can have many different tones and feels to it. It really isn't about that physiological expression that makes sure that we hit it every time. And so with that being said, I gotta bring up that means that the way that we feel an orgasm is different every time. And this idea that it has to be the height and the top, I want you to know that that is not such a thing. Every orgasm is an experience all on its own. And it's so okay if it's not at the tops of the tops every time. It doesn't mean that it's less than. Keep bringing yourself back to this idea that it is a release of sexual tension. Now, we all want to hit those peaks now, but recognize that for every woman, that experience of that peak can feel different. For some women, it's like a wave. For other women, it is that explosion. For other women, it's just a relaxation into pleasure. And I think that when we really take a look at that, it will help us manage our expectations and this desire that we have in society that says that we've got to have an orgasm one way. Why have we portrayed orgasms in society of being this wham bam, thank you ma'am, amen, and the stars open up every time? And the reasons for that is because of the way that science even science, which is supposed to be non-biased, still comes from a space of cultural bias. We as a society have had some ideas that set in, and so when we have examined the female orgasm, which has only happened really in the last 20 to 30 years, we are recognizing that there are some differences in the way that we experience an orgasm. So it's to take those biases off of our own minds and recognize that it is so not having to be a race, that it is about giving ourselves permission to be in the experience that really creates a wholeness and a depth to our experience. When you think about that, think about that for a second, that your orgasm is not attached to a physiological expanse. It opens things up a little bit, even if it makes you feel uncomfortable. And here's why. Orgasm in that way, when we think about it being a separate thing that we can just want to have, it turns and shifts the idea of the power behind it. It means that you can be responsible for your own orgasm, and you don't have to rely on anybody else to give you that space. You can introduce some toys. You can introduce your partner to touching you in ways that you may not have explored before, because you know what? It's so okay if you don't get your orgasm in that highfalutin way. What it may mean is to reach that kind of a peak, you've got to explore and take some different roads in. Different roads to orgasms that will bring you to your ultimate pleasure. And what I also mean by that is that it can be a place where you can then explore deeply and fully for yourself. 16% of all women aren't even sure if they've ever had an orgasm. And what that is because of the way that we have decided to perceive orgasm. Our expression can be different woman to woman, and it is so okay to give yourself permission to surrender to the process. Now, if you are enjoying this video, I would love for you to take a screenshot of me going sexy right now, and tag me on Instagram under Kiri Sutras with the screenshot. I will be sure to follow you back and shout you out on my Instagram page. We need to spread the word to women about the power of our sexuality. And when you put me in your tags, that's a surefire way for us to move through this. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to this video, because that means that the YouTube algorithm likes me more and we get to send this message out even further. Because I enjoy doing this vibing thing with you guys every week. You guys are special to me. What I'm really trying to say through all of this is that female orgasm breaks down into a couple of factors. One being safety, one being stimulation, and the most important one is if you have safety and you have stimulation, you will be able to surrender. Surrender into whatever that orgasm is going to look and feel like for you. Recognize that you don't have to feel the sensations like anybody else feels them. It is going to be particular for you, and that is perfectly okay. It's a space and a time for us to be able to explore what that truth is going to be like for you, and you get to create it if you just want to switch up and not think that it has to be a certain way. Giving yourself the option to just be, and taking the pressure off of you and your partner for pleasure will be a game changer. Trust me on that. So I am curious and would love for you to put in the comments below, what is orgasm like for you? Are you a person that's more of a wave, or do you have fireworks, or is it for you a steady stream or flow? know that all of those responses are okay, and I would love to hear from you about what that is. So either put it in the comments or DM me if you'd rather have a little bit more privacy. I am so open to hear and know where you're sitting in your space and time. Till our next time, we're vibing. Bye.